Let us bring the City of Spartanburg City Council meeting to order. Item 1, we're going to stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll be led by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we do have a troop here. In your moment of silence, it's 9/11 is upon us within the next couple of days. Just remember those that lost lives of loved ones during that time. Amen. We do have a troop here today, Troop 106, Mount Moriah Baptist Church. So we're going to ask these young men to step out front a little bit so I can see them and they can give us their name, and they're going to lead us in the pledge this evening. How about giving us your name and which school you attend? Spartanburg Prep. Thank you, Mr. Gaffney.
Sam Peterson, I attend Spartanburg High School.
Hunter Abrams, I attend Cracken Middle School.
Johnson Evers, I attend Spartanburg High School.
Charlotte Dowell, I attend Cracken Middle School.
Awesome, awesome. You guys gonna lead us in the pledge?
Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, young men, for your service here. We have item 3, approval of the minutes for the August 26, 2024 City Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Item 4, approval of the agenda for the September the 9th, 2024 City Council meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Ayes have it. I failed to mention Councilwoman Littlejohn called me earlier today and said she was a little under the weather, wasn't feeling well. She's watching us online, I'm sure. So hope you get better, Ruth. See you soon. We have public comment, item 5. When you come up, when your name is called, please come up and give us your address. You have 2 minutes to speak. After you give your name and address, the 2 minutes will start at that moment. Dr. Price, since you stood up, I'm gonna let you come on up here first. I don't think Ms. Twitty would mind.
Sorry, I thought I was the first one on the list. Good evening. My name is Brenda Lee Price. I live 291 Alexander Avenue, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Couple of streets down from the Mount Moriah Baptist Church. I'm here to personally invite you all on behalf of Hattie's House, which is a nonprofit group that works towards preserving the history of the African American community on the south side of town, especially Liberty Street. We're going to be honored in this city. I think it's an honor on the 24th of September. And we're going to recognize the descendants of Priscilla and Joseph Young's family will be in town. They're coming to first time they would ever see they've ever seen the Jubilee flag. And we all know what the Jubilee flag is about. And just in case you don't, I'll give you a little quick review on that. Shortly after emancipation, when they were free, when the slaves were freed, they had a parade. They marched down South Converse Street. Priscilla and Joseph, Priscilla and her friends made a flag out of her apron. Back then, you wore aprons all the way down to your ankles, and she made a flag, and presented the flag to the captain, who told them that they were free. And that flag is on display, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend you go by the library and visit. It's quite an experience. So the descendants of that family's coming. Joseph was a very successful businessman in Spartanburg. Matter of fact, he sold the land and was a strong member, a founding member of the Mount Moriah Baptist Church. So there's a lot of history there, and it's not often you get to touch your history. So we're real proud of that. Would love for you to come. We're on a budget, so we only have one invitation. So we got more money than we have. So if you make copies of this and share with everyone, we would love to see you there, just in time.
Thank you. Can you give us the time, Dr. Price?
6 to 8.
6 to 8.
Yes, sir, September 24th. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. LaRaven Twitty.
Hi, I'm LaRaven Twitty, 201 Samara Street, Spartanburg, South Carolina. The homosexual parades are evil and needs to stop. The hands that created the ads for this event, I have this to say. Mark 9:43, scripture. And if your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life maimed than with 2 hands to go to hell, to the unquenchable fire. Repent. DPH, Georgia Gov states, this is the source, HPV virus, the most common STD in the United States. Also a concern for gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men. End.
Thank you. Jenny Gilbert.
Hello, I'm Jenny Gilbert. I live at 268 West Hampton Avenue. And hello, City Council members, Mayor Rice. You should have all gotten an email inviting you to Hampton Heights Porch Fest, we hope. But I just still wanted to come and extend an invitation to all of you and the rest of the city and the municipalities in the county that may be watching this, that we would love to have you join us this Sunday from 12:30 to 5:30 to celebrate Spartanburg's oldest neighborhood. We'll have 12 mostly local musicians and bands playing on some of our oldest porches in the neighborhood along West Hampton Avenue, and we'll have food trucks and craft cocktails and craft beer and lots of fun stuff. So please bring your chair, your blanket, and join us to be our neighbor for the afternoon. I think that's it. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
We'll see you there.
Thank you, thank you. Item 6, we have the presentation of the proclamation declaring September the 17th, 2024 through September the 23rd, 2024 as Constitution Week. I do have a proclamation that I will read off, and we have a few folks that are here to accept. Come on down. All right, whereas September the 17th, 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. Whereas at the Constitutional Convention, our founding fathers, in order to secure the blessing of liberty for themselves and their prosperity, did ordain and establish a Constitution for the United States of America. And whereas the signing provides a historical opportunity for all Americans to learn about and remember the achievements of our founders and to reflect on the rights and the privilege of citizens as well as its attendant responsibility. Whereas the independence guaranteed to American people by the Constitution should be celebrated with ceremonies and activities during Constitution Week, September the 17th through the 23rd, as designed by the proclamation of the President of the United States in accordance with the Public Law 915. Now therefore I, Jerome Rice, by the virtue and authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Spartanburg, and on behalf of my fellow City Council members, do hereby proclaim the week September the 17th through September the 23rd, 2024 as Constitution Week in the city of Spartanburg and urge all citizens to pay special attention during that week for our federal Constitution and advantages of American citizens. So on behalf of the city of Spartanburg, I'm so happy, so proud that I can present this again and again for our freedom and Constitution that we do have to choose. So thank you all.
Thank you very much so much.
We got a couple coming.
Thank you. And I just want to say, there are 4 men from South Carolina that participated in the writing of the Constitution. So they're pretty important.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah.
So
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Good evening. Yes, ma'am.
Like a copy of the pocket copy of the Constitution. It's right in your pocket.
Thank you.
Fits right in your pocket. Well, with the Constitution being read, the proclamation for the Constitution, we did get a letter from our U.S. State Senator, Mr. Tim Scott, and congratulating us on being named the friendliest town in South Carolina by Southern Living. So, works right in hand with the Constitution from our state senator. I thought it did. Item 7, consent agenda. Ordinance to authorize the city manager to enter into a development agreement with Van Rock Holding LLC for the project located at 1017 Florida Avenue. Presenter, Mr. Martin Livingston, Community Development Director.
Just a consent agenda.
Oh, because
Mayor, I'd make a motion, we agree to the consent agenda.
Second.
stop me.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Ayes have it unanimously. Thank you. Item 8, Board and Commission's appointment, Bicycle Pedestrian Committee. Presenter, Ms. Christy Lindsay, City Clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have 3 recommendations for you from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. We have 3 vacancies. Currently, the board is recommending Gary Puritan, Meredith Boyce, and Tyrus Peoples to be appointed to this board. They are all qualified to serve, and they are willing to serve.
One at a time, or can we get all 3 at one time?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes.
First, not in regards to these 3 individuals, but we've been having talks about that committee needing a staff liaison.
Okay.
Previously, that's been held by a PAL member, but there's been talk about having one of our own folks. Is there any update that you can share with us on that?
Yes, ma'am, and I was actually going to update you all. Kim Brown with our Parks and Recs Director, she is going to be the liaison for that group, and I've already spoken with her and given her the chairperson's information, so she will be the point of contact for the city.
Great. Well, with that, I make a motion that we accept all 3 names that Christy read to the Bike Ped Committee.
Here, a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank the citizens for joining us. Item 9, resolution. A resolution certifying 1 unit as an abandoned building site pursuant to the South Carolina Abandoned Building Revitalization Act, Title 12, Chapter 67, Section 12-67-100 of South Carolina Code of Law, amended regarding the property located at 150 Archer Street, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Mr. Attorney, Bob
Sir,
Kohler.
Mayor, good evening, Mayor and council members. There is a small
white block and brick building on Archer Street between Magnolia and Church Street. It has been abandoned for a number of years. A developer, Lamar Holdings, has approached us about certifying it as an abandoned building for abandoned buildings tax credits. We checked business license records, and there is no evidence of any operation or activity at that building for at least 5 years, more like a lot more than that. I looked at it the other day, or pulled it up on Google, and there's a plaque for a law firm that I never even heard of, and I've been practicing law for a while here in the city. So it has been abandoned. The developers will proceed with redeveloping the building, and they will seek income tax credits, not property tax credits, as part of their redevelopment of the building. So before you tonight is a resolution to approve the building as an abandoned building. Staff recommends that you approve it so the developer can proceed with renourishing that building and obtaining some credits to bring it back to life.
Got you. Mr. Rain.
Is the developer the owner?
Yes.
Okay.
And I must have Mr. Story, I've not seen a development agreement yet, but I can't share with you what the plans are. I'm not sure we know details yet.
They have title to it.
Yeah, but we will share with you once we hear what their plan is.
Any other questions? Entertain?
Yeah, I move that we affirm or pass the
The approval of the
resolution.
resolution.
Yeah, approve the resolution certifying the abandoned building site.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. B, resolution to adopt agency safety plan developed by Sparta and the authorization of city manager to approve the updates as necessary. Mr. Dennis Locke, Financial Director, City of Spartanburg.
Yes, Mayor and Council, what you have in your packet is a safety management policy statement and plan for Sparta that the federal government asked us to implement, and we need council's approval of the plan. And what we're asking city council to do is that on an ongoing basis, as we update the plan, to authorize the city manager to have authority to approve those updates. The main, from a high level, that policy plan, the core values is to have a safety committee, to have communication and training, the responsibility and accountability for the training of the employees. There's employee reporting, there's performance monitoring and management, and there's review and evaluation. So once we make changes, we will go over those things with Kevin and Chris, and then we're asking you to give Chris the authority to make any updates to the plan for the bus system.
Any questions?
Dennis, there were a number of metrics that and markers that are required under the plan. Do we ever get any kind of update on our adherence and compliance to the plan?
I mean, we're reviewed every 3 years by the federal government when they come in and they look at our management records and our safety records. When we have accidents, they review all those things. So if there are any findings that they get, they actually send that report to the mayor and city manager.
Okay, so we would be aware if there was any
Right.
breach of the tenets of the plan.
And we haven't received any.
No, not when it comes to safety and training and things of that nature.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I move we approve the resolution to adopt the agency safety plan developed by Sparta and authorize the city manager to approve updates as necessary.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that opposed? Ayes have it. Item 10, contract award for North Spring Street resurfacing project. Mr. Jay Squires, Public Works Director. Don't see Jay that often. Welcome.
We'll try to get back over here a little bit more often. But, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff received bids for the milling and resurfacing of North Spring Street from West Main Street to St. John Street. There were two bids that were completed. The low bid was Bradley Contracting at $59,137.50. Reeves Construction was the other contractor or other bid that was submitted at $322,512.50. Staff has reviewed the bids and qualifications for each of the contractors. Based on the review, staff has determined that Bradley Contracting is a responsive low bid. The project should take about a week. It's a pretty simple project. We will inform the property owners of the detour route and the schedule of the project as well. We are asking council to allow staff to accept the bids and authorize city manager to enter into a contract with Bradley Contracting for the completion of the project. It'll be paid from the County Transportation Committee set aside at $59,137.50.
Jay, I've never seen one quite this.
I knew you would have a question.
Are they using the same material?
Bradley Contracting, so Bradley was actually, they actually did the resurfacing for the Mary Black Trail project not too long ago, and for the Duncan Park trail improvements as well. They were a sub for one of the contractors. And like I was explaining maybe to Chris, is that nowadays it's a perfect storm as far as asphalt in particular. Everybody knows DOT sort of, they've got a lot of projects that they're completing now. And during the Great Recession and subsequent other times of downturns, there's only about 3 large asphalt companies. Reeves is one of them, Rogers and King is the other one. So they look at these projects as small projects, and for them to really get to that point, they want to have a premium for their project prices and so forth. I looked at all of those bids. We have complete confidence in Bradley Contracting to do this project. It's, like I said, it's a pretty simple project. You're going to mill and then you're going to overlay it. You know, it's 200 tons of asphalt. It's not a lot. The spreads are a little bit misleading to a point where we ask the same question, but we have complete confidence in Bradley Contracting to complete this project on time and on budget as well.
Okay. Yes.
So we wouldn't anticipate any change orders or anything of that nature?
No, ma'am, we're good with that, especially if it's a $260,000 change order. That would be a lot. But to your point, like I said, we looked at all of those unit cost prices, and they're the same as they would be for a DOT project. This is not the same complexity as it would be on 85 or 26. So.
Okay. Question.
I do have a question. Is there a guarantee that if anything goes wrong, they'll come back and without any extra costs?
Yes, ma'am. They're totally licensed, bonded. We have a bond for a performance bond for every contractor that does any work in the city of Spartanburg.
Okay.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve Bradley to resurface.
So I hear a second. I heard a second. And all in favor?
Aye.
And that opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Squires. Item 11, staff updates. Mr. Story.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just a couple of things to touch on, and then I'll certainly welcome any questions, which is a dangerous proposition with this relatively short agenda. But I would remind that we do have an executive session that follows. First is an event to call to the attention of you all in the community. The Spartanburg Fire Department is hosting a 9/11 remembrance Wednesday morning at 8:30 at their facility, 450 Wofford Street. It's open to the community and others and any interested parties to just take a moment to recognize the impact of September 11th, 2001 on our country. Secondly, I wanted to touch briefly on some difficulties in recent days at the Robert Smalls Apartments and provide an update to you all in the public about that. As you all know, Robert Smalls Apartments is privately owned, privately managed. There was a period of last week where power was cut off to some of the units at no fault of the tenants of those units. As soon as we were made aware, we reached out to several levels of involvement in the ownership team, and they reported it was a result of a miscommunication with within their organization, and it was corrected within some number of hours. I don't know exactly how long it took for the last units to come back online, but obviously we are significantly concerned and frustrated to have that happen. We are exercising all the responses that we can, all the remedies that we can bring to bear on the situation, and will continue to do so. Obviously, we're not privy to their status of their accounts and their relationships with Duke Energy, but we were very concerned about that and hope it's the last such operational issue that occurs at that property. Secondly, there continue to be some concerns that relate to criminal incidents and things of that nature, and I want you to know that we have made some progress at developing an approach to enhance the safety environment there with some additional technology and some additional officer presence, both on duty and off duty officer presence. And so Mitch has worked with the ownership in the police department to put us on a better path in that condition. So I just want you to know that those two upsetting matters are receiving attention, and we believe are moving in a more positive direction, but certainly have been a focus for our team and of great concern to our team. Those are the principal updates I needed to make sure to provide, but certainly welcome any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Story, for updates?
Chris, remind me, how often do we get the crime updates from the chief? To come to council, is that once a year? Remind me when in the calendar that falls.
Chief, the police leadership will come to you all with annual statistics, and then of course we have monthly updates that go out via email.
Right.
But the formal presentations are typically annually, but there's no rule that
which
that
month
says
does
be
that
different.
usually fall? Was that
After
this summer?
at the beginning of the calendar year, usually in January, January, February, I'm sorry.
Chris, I recognize that the relationship between the landowner and Duke Energy is a direct one, and we really don't have a role in that. But, I mean, it seems odd that it would be a miscommunication between the parties. I mean, I don't think, or at least I don't believe that they will cease power without, multiple iterations of notice. And it just is obviously, as you pointed out, concerning and troubling that would occur. How long was it out?
I think some units were up to 24 hours. And obviously that's longer than, it shouldn't have happened at all, but certainly 24 hours was longer than.
And it's the landlord's responsibility to provide power?
Yes, and it's part of the structure, the nature of the operations there, and they recognize that they're responsible, obviously, for that cost and for that, having those paid. What they've indicated to us is some staff changeover is what they attribute that to.
And will the tenants get some sort of remediation from their rent?
I don't know the answer to that, but we're certainly looking into all angles.
Are all of the AC units now up and running?
Every unit has some form of air conditioning. There's still a few that have the permanent system rebuilds are still ongoing for a few. Most of the 60+ units that needed full reinstallation have been addressed, but they're still wrapping up on some. But we're not aware of any units that don't have HVAC at the moment.
Any other questions? None. Thank you, Mr. Story. City Council update. Item 12, we're going to start with Councilwoman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chris kind of opened the door for some of my comments here. It's back to school. We all know that. I see some of our Wofford friends in the back. Hope to see many of you again. And as we have in our country, we've had more school shootings, 2 this past week, with 4 having lost their lives after being killed. This is the 23rd school shooting this year, just on a K through 12 campus. So far, 50 people have been killed or injured as a result of school shootings. When these happen, I, like you, grieve for the families, for the communities. I think about my own children and their safety, and I grow incredibly angry at the preventability of all of it. According to research, about half of the homes in South Carolina have guns in them. That should be no surprise to all of us. When it comes to school shootings, 3 out of every 4 school shooters get their gun from their home. We have no specific law in South Carolina around gun storage. So far this year, 8 young children under the age of 11 have been shot. 6 of them have died after finding guns in their home. 2 of them were 2-year-olds. And firearms are still the leading cause of death for children. We've had guns brought to our city schools. I shared with you all that a few years ago when one was brought to my son's elementary school by kids who find them at their home and think that it's cool to show their friends. We've had several shootings in this last week. Chris alluded to incidents of criminal nature at Robert Smalls. An 18-year-old was shot in the back. A 13-year-old was shot on the west side. We had a shooting where the man who had been shot showed up at Sonic on Saturday, and someone yesterday committed suicide by gunfire. All within this last week here in our own city. We've had 80 guns stolen this year in the city, with half of the ones that have been stolen from cars coming from cars that are unlocked. I often get the question about what we're doing in the city around gun violence. Of course, we all want to see that our elected officials are responding and are doing something about it. And I have to tell them that South Carolina prevents any municipality from doing anything around gun safety or passing our own gun policies. There's 50 key policies that have been identified that promote smart gun safety and policy, and none of those can be passed at the local level in South Carolina. And South Carolina only meets 11 of those 50. It's easy to sit back and blame Washington, Tim Scott, who thanks us for being the friendliest city. I don't really care if he thinks that. Can blame our state assembly for not doing enough. But we are also elected officials who took an oath to preserve the peace and to defend the interests of the citizens of our city. I think all of our interest is to be able to wake up, to go to our work, to send our kids to school, to walk across the street, all without having to be afraid. And while we can't do anything around gun control, I refuse to accept that we can't do anything. We have to do something. So I've been thinking about what could those things be? And so I have a list of questions for us to start from. Chris mentioned the crime reports. We do on council receive a monthly crime report, a heat map across the city. I, in my job, work a lot with data, and I wonder, how are we responding to that monthly data? How are we tracking trends and being proactive? We've had a steady increase of car break-ins since 2019, with 507 of them happening last year. What's our goal to reduce that? What's our strategy to do that? How are we communicating through our neighborhood associations, promoting basic safety of people just locking their cars, of not keeping their gun in their car? Are we still promoting free gun locks to anyone in our community who would want them? Are we talking about gun safety in our Parks and Rec programming? How are we partnering with the county and their gang task force? What's our case closure rate and what's our goal? Are we pursuing federal crime prevention grants? There's money that can be accessed that we can apply for. We have things that we can do. Our residents expect it of us. There are things we can't do, but with everything that we can, we must. Because we just can't not. Thank you.
Well said, and I would be, there may be a gun action, the shooting today. I just got a text, so just add to what you were just saying. What can we do? And what will we do? Not what can we do, what will we do? And I know you've been an advocate for gun buyback, trying to do something. It's our responsibility. Councilman Foreman.
Mr. Mayor, just two things. One, last week I had the privilege of attending a ceremony here at the county building for 17 veterans who were unclaimed, whose remains were unclaimed by family members and the county along with the city team. I think Chief Bruton, you had some folks here and 2 trucks here. Conducted a service of a transfer service for those folks as they left on their way to Columbia, where they'll be buried, and it was a wonderful service, and appreciate the opportunity to be here. And then also on a more positive note, had the opportunity to be with you and Councilwoman Sally the same day for the groundbreaking at Duncan Park for the new baseball fields and the improvements. And it was a wonderful event, very well attended. And thanks to all our partners in that project, including Charlie DeLara, who is a Spartanburg native who has moved on to do big things in this world, but he's never forgotten Spartanburg, and it was wonderful to see him and thank him for his contributions.
Thank you. The collaboration amongst everyone that have played a part in that to where we are now, man. It just goes to show what we do here in Spartanburg. Councilman Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have anything. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here.
Councilwoman Sally, Mayor Pro Tem.
I do thank you all for being here, and I believe we missed one. We had the Duncan Park, Duncan Park presentation, ribbon cutting for the kayaking. Mayor, Councilwoman Smith, Councilwoman Littlejohn decided they wanted to take the river, and they went out kayaking. Successfully, they came back to the dock, and here they are. Thank you all for coming.
I didn't realize you got that wet in kayaking. I don't know if I was doing it correctly or not, but it was definitely a workout. To the Robert Smalls concerns, and I hope the people in Robert Smalls' apartment are listening. We hear you, and I know I've said this before. We, are doing all we can. I don't want them to think that we're overlooking it. But again, Chris tried to explain as best he could about the ownership. The city of Spartanburg does not own Robert Smalls, but we are there. The power went out. We're there trying to help and assist all we can. Folks didn't have the units for AC, HVAC units. We're there. We're calling ownership, making sure they know. We're putting as much pressure on them as we can, but we know people still have to have a place to live. So I just want to let them know and let you all know that we do hear your calls, your emails, your posts on social media. We feel it. We live here with you. We don't want any of our citizens to be in a situation like that. And we're really doing, I don't want to say all we can because we can always do more, but we are doing, and we're putting pressure on the ownership to do more. I really want them to hear that and to know that. Gun violence, I did not mention in my moment of silence about the school shooting, and just pray for that family. Pray for that family. No, none of us ever think it's going to happen in our neighborhood. The people there in Georgia didn't think it would happen in their neighborhood, in their city school. So, man, let's just be mindful. Just be mindful. Thank you all for coming out, as always, to be a part of this, to hear what's going on, to see what's going on. Chief Bruton, see you there, 9/11. I definitely look forward to the program there on Wednesday. So again, thank you all. We do have an executive session.
I move that we go into executive session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go, let's go.